Welcome to the UI experience. Welcome to the UI experience.
Good afternoon, urban intellectuals and those out there listening in webland from the four corners of all of this earth. I thank you for joining us this afternoon on what was formerly known as the UI Daily Show, but now rebranded as Real Talk with Jalal Tariq. Real Talk for real people with real problems. Today I'm joined by my usual partners in consciousness. TB is here. Gabrielle is here, but she's just listening, but we thank her for her participation anyway because, I can halfway read her mind. So, whenever she show up, I always had good thoughts that come up. But
why, thank you.
Before we get started, as usual, let me hit it with our usual exhortation for those who actually want to watch this organization of ours move forward and do more positive things than what we have done. I urge you to go to urbanintellectuals.com/members, and for the low, low price of $24 a year, $2 a month, you can become a card-carrying member of Urban Intellectuals. Or if you don't want to be a member but you just still want to donate to the cause, you can go to urbanintellectuals.com/donate, and you can donate to your heart's content, however much money you want to give. You want to give a nickel, you want to give 500 grand, we'll take it all. Again, I thank you guys. I'm sorry, that was so unprofessional. I'm tired. I didn't get off until midnight last night, and I worked a 10-hour shift yesterday. But anyway, I thank you for joining us this afternoon. Free for All Friday. We're trying to, institute new things in UI radio. We're trying out some new things and see how it goes over. If we like it, we keep it. If we don't, we toss it. And coming up in the future, I want to start moving the show more toward audience participation, where if you want to call in, if you want to comment on a subject, or if you want to bring up your own subject, that's fine too, because, we versatile. We can talk to you about anything. You want to talk about ballet, give us a call. You want to talk about hockey, we'll tell you about how hockey really came about. Slaves in Canada needing something to do in the wintertime when wouldn't nothing grow. So they developed the game of hockey. Now we got, 10 black hockey players in the entire NHL? But if it wasn't for us, there would be no National Hockey League. But be that as it may, subject number 1. I was actually flipping through my news sources trying to figure out what I was going to talk about today. And front page of the New York Times. And for those of you who don't know, everybody knows what the New York Times is, but what people really don't know is the New York Times is the preeminent news organization in the United States. And a lot of other news outlets get their lead from the New York Times. If the New York Times does a piece about something that's new and that's, trending, you watch CNN jump on, you watch Fox News jump on, you watch the Associated Press would jump on, and they'll give, credit in their bylines, this is from a New York Times piece or what have you. So I'm flipping through NewYorkTimes.com on my smartphone, and I hear about the doctor in New York who has Ebola. Now, not too surprising. We knew it was going to happen sooner or later. Those who, followed the story knew what was going to happen, but front page New York Times, here's this brother. And I'm thinking to myself, and I consider myself kind of halfway, versatile when it comes to reading news and being able to, absorb information and separate the wheat from the chaff, as the old folks used to say, separate the serious from the bullshit. And I see this brother, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, man, another brother that brought Ebola back to the United States. Oh, damn, we can hear it all day now. So I'm flipping and I'm reading, and on page 3, here's this black and white photo of this pasty-faced white man who they identify as the doctor who actually was the one with Ebola. Come to find out that the brother that they got on the front page is his neighbor. And they was just interviewing him in the street, say, hey, what do you know? Oh, he was a nice guy. I met him a couple of times. We spoke in the hallway. I caught the elevator with him one time. He's quiet. He doesn't do anything wrong, yada, yada, yada. And my first thought is what is up with this character assassination? Why does everything that's negative in America that happens have to have a black face? You can't put the picture of the doctor on the front page. You got to put a picture of the brother. That ain't got nothing to do with it. Never touched him, don't have Ebola, not even in danger of having Ebola. So that's what I want to talk about first. TB, what you think?
Well, firstly, I thought about it as well. It's a plan, man, designed to keep the brother down, man. Just keep a brother down, But no, it's okay. This is case number 4. Again, not 400, not 1,000, not even 40, but 4. So we have 4 people in the United States that have been diagnosed with Ebola in some form, and 2 of them happen to be in Texas and New York. So the first thing I thought about is, okay, the media is now trying to spread panic by focusing on some of the largest states and who has Ebola in those states, because you had your first case in Texas, now you got this case in New York, but the other 2 people, I can't tell you where they're from. You see, so I just think, again, I'm not panicking. I said this in one of the shows before. Okay, this guy actually went over to West Africa directly and treated patients who had the disease directly. So, yes, you are putting yourself at risk to catch the virus if you're over there directly working with people who have the virus. So, the way the media reports it, I've already said that before as well. The media is going to be who they are. They gear their stories towards making, people who are of color look as if they are in some kind of trouble or if they're causing some sort of problem. That's not new to me.
Can I weigh in?
Sure.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay. Well, what really sticks out with me is how irresponsible the media is being. It's almost like they can't make up their mind what they want to do. Do they want to frighten us? Do they want to reassure us? I mean, I'm sure you heard this week the story about the nurse, Amber Joy Vincent. First of all, obviously, the treatment of Amber Vincent and the other nurse, Nina Pham, obviously that was not the same. I think we can all agree that the narrative of how they were doing and kind of the stories in the background of both nurses was not the same. But now, supposedly, Amber Joy Vincent has been cured, or they found no traces of Ebola in her body. So my question is, how is that possible? If this disease is so harmful, if it's so dangerous, and there's no cure for it, how did she suddenly come up with no trace of it? It's just really irresponsible how the media is just not giving us a clear story, and it almost seems as if, okay, this particular nurse, is now, I guess, healed or recovered from the condition. So now that didn't work. That didn't put enough fear into the people. So now let's show this other doctor who suddenly has the disease and is now being quarantined in New York and what have you. And I guess in New York they're a little bit more fearful because New York being such a heavily populated area and, the potential for disease to spread in that area. I mean, of course, everyone, if you've been in New York, they don't even have alleys. Everyone's kind of like packed on top of each other. So it's like they play these chess games to determine or to control the level of panic that, the country is going to respond to with this. It's really irresponsible. There's no real concrete information that anyone has available unless you do your own research, which I intend to do myself. And the level of mass hysteria is getting out of control. I mean, just today, I work for a corporate office where there are lawyers. And I heard 2 lawyers walking down the hall. This one woman said, my son's been sick. He was vomiting and he had a fever. And the other lawyer said to her, vomiting? Have you been to Africa? So this is the level of ignorance we're going to have to deal with. And now with the flu season coming up, it's just going to get more escalated and ridiculous. And it's just, it's disgusting to me that no one can give us a straight answer as to what's happening, and the stories are being controlled in such a way to control the level of panic. It's disgusting to me.
And that is true. And since you mentioned the disparate treatment and disparate reporting as far as the 2 nurses, I remember when the I guess she's Vietnamese or something like that. She might even be mixed. I'm not exactly sure. But when she first came down with the virus, everybody made her out to be, I know especially in the Texas area, in the Texas newspapers, everybody made her out to be like this angel who basically, it's like the really bad movie where, with no regard to her own personal safety, she went in there and gave him mouth-to-mouth or some stupid shit like that. What I mean? And she was this heroic nurse just going about her business. She lived alone. They, took her dogs because her dogs might have it or whatever. She made sure she didn't touch anybody and yada, yada, yada. The sister, she went and got on a plane and she, almost knowingly infected, everybody around her. She knew she wasn't supposed to fly. And,
right.
But you have to put in those small print. She was following the protocol. She was taking her temperature every day, and she didn't feel like that she was in danger of, spreading the disease. She didn't think she was infected. She was just, following the protocols, and she stayed away from work. But she had some business to take care of in Cleveland, so she flew to Cleveland. She flew back. Now all of a sudden, she's just, she's typhoid Mary. She just doesn't care. She's going around, coughing in people's face and spitting on babies. And I'm like, wait, hold it. Where all that come from? You know what I mean? How come she couldn't have been heroic? How come she couldn't have went in there and been pumping his chest while Nina Pham was giving him mouth-to-mouth the way y'all make it sound?
Right.
But I agree. I think that it's just all one big plan to keep the hysteria, to keep the panic going, because, and some people might ask, and let me explain it, why would people, or why would certain individuals within our society, want to stir up panic like that? Why would you want to push this narrative that this disease is as bad as it supposedly is, but yet it's only killing, even on the continent, it's only killing roughly between 45 and 50% of the people who catch it on the continent. Well, basically, they don't have a Band-Aid. You see what I'm saying? They want to keep that panic up because it's just like anything else in this society. It's all about money. I keep up that panic, I can sell more Theraflu. I keep up that panic, I can sell more latex gloves, I can sell masks. You got people out there, private citizens now, going to these medical supply companies and buying level 4 biohazard suits and goofy shit like that. I can sell more plastic and duct tape so I can duct tape my windows, and I sell more bottled water just in case we, get quarantined or something like that. And it's crazy. It's crazy because, like Terry said, we're talking about 4 people out of a country of 350 million people. You're talking about 4 people that's got it. And let's look at it realistically. The average popular person has roughly about maybe 2,000 people who they can say they've actually met and, talked to. Of those 2,000 people, maybe only 50 of them they can call acquaintances. And out of those 50 acquaintances, maybe anywhere from 15 to 25 of them they can actually call friends, not including family members, because we all know, you got family members you've never met. You know what I mean? You got cousins that you know about as much about them as you do the girl who lived across the hall or down the street, around the corner. So where is this propensity to, spread this disease so virulently, or, to put everybody in the country in danger of catching this disease? That's not how diseases work. That's not how diseases work, especially in countries, developed countries. We don't go to funerals. We don't lick bodies and, lay hands on people like that. That's not the way our culture is. Now, if, somebody dies of natural causes, we might stroke grandma's face, or we might hold daddy's hand or whatever. That's it. But if I know that this individual is, died of that thing, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have an open casket, for one. For 2, I think I'm not, Grandma, I'll holler at you. You know what I mean? I love you to death, but I'll holler at you, but I ain't touching you, Grandma. because it just ain't going down like that. Why would I put my life in jeopardy, just to say goodbye? That's not how we roll in this culture, But like I said, and like everybody has said, it's just another tool in the toolbox of causing that panic within the United States. TB, you get the last word.
Well, you see, we're all on the same page. Again, I've worked in the media, and I learned it firsthand what the agenda is. And the agenda is to sell advertisements to corporations. You got to make millions of dollars by selling ads to corporations. They've got to sponsor you and be on your radio show and a part of your program. So in order to do that, you got to get people to tune in by the thousands and by the millions. And the way to do that is to put out some messages that are going to make people keep tuning to your station to see what's going to happen next. And that's what this is. I mean, right now, this is just them trying to sell papers. The same way I did some research and saw that over in Russia, their media is doing the same thing, in the Ukraine. In order to keep those people confused about what's going on, they're purposely disseminating frightening messages that are designed to do the same thing, scare the public and keep them confused and keep them tuned in to find out what really is going on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, somebody got their own interest music. What is up with that? Well,
that's what happens in a free-for-all.
That's what happens in a free-for-all. But it's all good. Topic number 2. What's happening in the UI-verse? The Uiverse. The Uiverse, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm glad Patrick was able to join us today. Patrick Irvine, Black Pat, is on the line. Because I kind of wanted to get somebody in to basically discuss what some of the things that we're doing within Urban Intellectuals. We got the radio show that's going on. We got our different writing teams that's going on. And I kind of wanted to have Patrick basically, if you can, brother, can you spread a little bit of light on the direction that UI is going and some of the upcoming projects that we got coming up? Can you do that for me? Off the top of your head. Yeah, I know you're not prepared, but,
Yeah, UI... UI is actually doing a lot. In terms of the radio, we have quite a few shows going. We have the, obviously the Real Talk with Jalal show going. We have the UI After Dark with Brother Banks. That's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 p.m. Central. That's 11 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Central. So it's a 1-hour show, and he plays the most bangingest old school music you've ever heard in your life. On Wednesdays at 7:30, we have the Freedom Train, where we interview people that are actually doing things in the black community. On Saturdays, we actually have Great Black Speeches, which that's at 10 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, where we play some of the speeches from our elders back in the day. And that's just, we play one speech at that time, and once it goes off, it goes off. We had a Bridging the Gap call Friday at 7 p.m. The Metaphysical show is Sunday at 2 p.m. So the radio show is picking up, and we're looking to add on more radio things to that. As to what we're doing outside of radio, well, there is the website, and the website is being expanded. There are hopes, dreams, and aspirations of that becoming a legitimate news source, and it already is well on its way to becoming a legitimate news source. And when I say legitimate, I mean recognized by all parties as a news source. So they're taking steps to do that. When it comes to what we're doing in the nonprofit world, UI is working on, and we're well underway in it, and we're hoping to have a rough draft finished here in the next few weeks, actually. And when I say few weeks, I actually mean 2 weeks. Black curriculum. And this is going to be a curriculum that actually covers the gamut, but from a black perspective, so that our children can get the knowledge they need, but they can also get that pride and that sense of culture that's missing. And so that's something that we've been working on actually for quite some time, and we have a number of people that are very highly qualified and that have extensive amounts of experience that are doing those things and working on those things for us. So the education team is real. We're also working on updating our UI Wiki page, which is where people can go to get general information. We have a team of lawyers working on creating a course where black people can gain some sense of the law and what it means to be a citizen, some of the rights and things that they have, and some of the responsibilities that they have as well. And the legal team is doing a very good job of getting all that stuff cranked out, and making sure that when it comes to matters of the law, things are explained very clearly. The UI nonprofit is getting set up now to really begin to take action out there. We've started developing some after-school programs, some tutoring programs, and different things like that, so that we can get involved. We've begun partnering up with other nonprofits to allow us to utilize their buildings and things like that, and to get them to utilize some of the things that we're coming out with as far as the educational things. So there is a whole lot going on in the UI verse right now with what we're trying to do for the black community, to get the black community developed and not transformed, developed into what it can be. I mean, I can talk all day about what UI is doing, because there's just a whole bunch of stuff that UI is doing, but I don't want to run too much time off your show. You know, if you guys want to hear more, though, I can definitely keep going.
If you got something else you want to do, because this is Free Fall Friday anyway, so we're gonna run over a little bit today anyway. So, you know, I had actually budgeted an hour and a half, and I'm gonna switch some of these topics around. They're not necessarily gonna be in the order of, you know, how they are on the show badge. So, you know, if you want to keep going, brother. Tell us.
Well, okay. Well, one of the things we're also working on is the connection aspect, where we have a program now where we're trying to connect black businesses to the black consumer. We're trying to rebuild and reestablish that connection. So we have a program right now where we're really working to get our members. I'm sorry, who is this with all this like background noise?
Your guess is as good as mine. Everybody put your phone on mute.
No, I'm finna take care of it right now. Don't even worry about that. But we have a business membership program where we're trying to what the hope is with that is that once we get businesses signed up, they will, you know, it's not that they will, or it's not that it's a hope. I'm sorry, that's a poor choice of words. But in order for them to become a member of our business membership platform, they have to be willing to give you, our personal members, at least a 10% discount on their services. And what we hope to do with that is encourage black consumers to go into black establishments and to, you know, begin to spend their money with black businesses. We also, in that very same program, are looking to help black businesses develop and grow as black businesses. So we have business process engineers that are down to help these businesses out, to refine their processes and make sure that things are up to speed. Again, we have the legal team that can answer some of those legal questions that businesses might have, or help them get structured, or help them with contracts or things like that. So we have these different aspects set up that can help businesses develop. And we're really trying to bridge the gap and really connect the black consumer to the black businesses, because a lot of people think, that the distrust is one way, where we're saying black people don't trust black businesses, but the distrust goes both ways, because black businesses don't trust black people either. So we're really doing our best to try to get over that hump and clear that up. We have a UI award show that we're trying to set up now to recognize some of the people, some of the businesses, some of the people, some of the organizations that are really doing a bang-up job to help black America. And these people largely don't get recognized, and they largely get ridiculed. I mean, we all know helping black America can end your career. So we're trying to have an award show that we're scheduling, or we're planning right now, and we're really trying to get these people recognized. And we want them to finally be recognized in a good way. And we're really hoping that takes off. And once people start seeing people get rewarded for helping black people, we're hoping maybe other people will jump on board as well. We have the urban development plan, which we're actually pushing, which is actually a 22-step plan for improving the community. And it's something that we're going to be pushing very hard once we get set up. We have the 6 tenets of the community. We have which, from our aspect of training, economics, education, culture, politics, and communication. We have the 3 levels of knowledge: political, economical, and historical. And God forgive me if I leave something out, because I'm trying to work primarily off memory. We have the 4 cores of action: faith, energy, congruence, and understanding. And all of those things are actually, they match up with numerology. If you add all of the tenets together plus the 1 community, you get 22, which is a master number that represents the builder. So
bam. That's for you, David. And you,
Latonya. So we have that going on as well. In addition to that, we have the research team that we really want to get spooled up. That's the team that's currently in development altogether, meaning that's the team that we're trying to get spooled up right now. And the research team is going to be busy finding numbers and really being able to quantify the black experience. And the primary purpose for that is not only to help us in our discussions and help us with really having legitimate and serious discussions about what happened in black America and the impact of it. Because we can talk about what happened all day, but when it comes to trying to talk about the impact of it, it's always very difficult to do that. So this team is going to find the numbers that can help us explain the impact of it. So let's find out how many millions of dollars were lost exactly through all of the psychological damage that's been done over black people being destroyed and cities being wiped out and this, that, and the third. If we really were to have a reparations package, let's find out how many billions of trillions of dollars that it would have to be. Let's find out, what was the impact, what was the real impact of the civil rights movement. Let's really crunch down on some numbers, and let's really get some numbers for some things as best that we can. And also the other impact of that is we see all these white research groups getting all this money for saying things that we already know to be true.
Yes, sir.
Why are they getting all this money and all these research grants for defining the black experience, and they're not even black? And people call me crazy and silly and over the top all the time, but that money should be going to a black research group. Why aren't black people defining our own experience? That's part of the problem right there. We don't define our own self-image. We don't define our own experience. We don't define anything about our lives. So, the research team kind of wants to feel the purpose of not only giving us giving us real numbers that we can use in our discussions. They want to fact check other people's numbers, because we've come to find out recently that a lot of numbers that people believe to be true simply aren't. So we want to fact check other people's numbers. We also want to get that money for defining the experience. We are working on opening up a charter school as well. So we have that, and in the charter school, we're looking to have a real life certified training program for those kids in the high school portion that are going to be able to graduate and provide for their families right away. In America, it's become where you need a college degree to fail successfully. Like, if you don't have a college degree, you basically can't do anything. I mean, in some places, they're requiring you to be in college to work at McDonald's. So you need a college degree in today's world, and that's not necessarily fair because college isn't set up for everybody. I mean, I'm not saying everybody can't go, but I am saying college is not set up for everyone to be successful. So the people that can give it their best shot and simply just won't have it in them to thrive in college, or don't have the financial means to thrive in college, because nowadays, going to college is like buying a house. So as soon as you grow up, as soon as you get out of high school, all of a sudden you got this big-ass bell tied around your neck and you can't move. So we want to give those students a chance to be certified as soon as they graduate at being welders or being drillers or being sheet metal workers or being whatever it is that they want to be. Something that's a hard skill, that's a hands-on skill that they can actually do themselves and make a living at. And I mean, welders and all those other people make pretty decent money. If you don't know, you should look that up. Maybe if you're struggling, you might want to look into that. But so that's an aspect that we're really trying to work with that team. The chapter development team, right now we're in the process of figuring out what we need to do legally to be able to set up chapters all over the nation. I'm sure you've heard me say it before, but UI wants to be like America. Everywhere that UI goes, UI stays. So we are looking at setting up chapter houses everywhere, and we're trying to be kind of like the Black Panther NAACP mix of the new age, kind of, sort of. So we really want, because there haven't been any new, really serious pro-black organizations out there. And I will say this, UI is we're not a minority group. We're a black group. Not that we hate anybody else, and it's even sad that you even have to say that. But it's not that we hate anybody else, but everybody else has their own minority groups. And when I say minority in this sense, Hispanics have Hispanic groups, gays and lesbians have gays and lesbian groups. We all know women have a plethora of groups. But black people, even black women alone, don't really have any real advocacy groups for them alone. They always have to get lumped in with somebody else. UI is that group, and we're trying to become that group. So we have a whole lot going on, and that's why we're so, and we're not even asking for a lot. That's where the $24 comes in at. The $24 that you gives us goes into funding all those things, because we also have the UI CAT team, which is the UI community action team. Basically, anytime there is a problem in the black community, we want to be able to send this team in. And we want to be able to send them in early, before the cameras get there. If they can't get there before the cameras, we want to either be able to send them in, under the cover of darkness, if you will, where they aren't staring at cameras, or we want to send them in after the cameras leave. The goal of the UI movement is not to get media attention. It's not to be out there in the limelight. And it's not that we don't need that. Of course we need the media attention to get people to donate and know who we are. But when we're actually going out to do what we do, media is a distraction. Media gets in the way of progress a lot of the times. When you find yourself prancing in front of the camera, you're spending more time prancing in front of the camera than you actually are helping the community that you're supposed to help. So we want the community action team to be kind of like the Navy SEALs of UI. You know about them, but you don't see them.
Rapid response team.
Exactly. So anytime we have any issues, just know the UI CAT team is there, and they're doing whatever they can to make sure that it works out favorably for black people. Even if it doesn't work out favorably legally, they are still working with community leaders, and again, they're working with local community leaders to establish a culture of prevention in that area so that whatever has happened does not happen again.
Right.
So, like I said, UI has a lot going on, and these aren't things that are just like lines on a words on a board or anything like that. These are things where, for the majority of these things, we're already doing them. For those that we aren't already doing, we already have team members, and we're getting them up to speed, and we're getting them prepared. A lot of things are contingent on resources, so of course that's why every show you hear, we're begging you guys to join and become a member or donate, because a lot of these things are contingent on resources. But UI is doing a lot. We have things if you want to talk about things on the whiteboard, there are a plethora of other things on the whiteboard that we really want to get into. But we simply don't have the resources right now to even begin the process, so we just leave them on the whiteboard. But UI is doing a lot. We have a whole lot going on. I mean, you guys, it is so much bigger than just Facebook. It's so much bigger than Twitter. It's so much bigger than what a lot of people realize. And so we're extremely grateful for the members we do have, because we do have quite a few people that have signed up already, and we're hoping to get more. So, that's what we have going on in the UI-verse.
Cool. I thank you for that, bro. I thank you for that. And hopefully one day we'll be able to put all that down basically in on paper, or something that we can send out to people, and we can say, or send out to the group and say, hey, look, if you have any of these skills and would like to, then contact this individual, right? And since you mentioned black businesses, I was actually jotting down some things earlier that I was reading some stories about. First thing, I don't know how many people are familiar with the whole concept of Airbnbs, or bed and breakfast places, which is, become so large now that they're actually starting to cut into the profits of, major hotel lines and hotel companies. And basically the process is this: I own a home, I got a spare bedroom, maybe my kids went off to college or what have you. I go online, I tell people, if you come into Pittsburgh and you need a place to stay, I got this room. You can stay for, a couple of nights or whatever, and this is the rates. You pay me, $25 a night, $30 a night, $50 a night, whatever it is, and, you go on about your way. And that is huge in America. But guess what? As usual, discrimination raises its, hoary head. When black people try to take advantage of Airbnbs, a lot of times we're denied. Same thing with a black Uber. I don't know how many people are familiar with Uber, the car riding service, where I can go on my phone and I can call for a car and, say, for instance, Patrick, you come to Texas, you need to get from DFW Airport to McKinney, where I live. You go on, you put out your request, I pick it up, I go pick you up in my personal car, I take you where you need to go in McKinney, and I go home. You pay me and I go home. It's a glorified taxi service, which is why the taxi union is against all that. But guess what? Again, If your name is Tyrone, you'll never get picked up. If your name is Shaniqua, you'll never get picked up. And then you have other competing services like Airlift. Airlift, on the other hand, makes you put a picture beside your name. And guess who don't get picked for rides? Either as the driver or as the passenger. So we need a black one of that. For those businesses who are those individuals who have businesses, maybe they sell something. They need to take Amazon's business model into mind. Instead of opening a brick-and-mortar store somewhere with overhead, paying employees, et cetera, start offering more of your products online. FedEx will pick up and deliver anywhere, and the rates are not really that expensive. Same thing with UPS. Same thing with the United States Postal Service. We'll come pick it up, take it to where it needs to go. So all your clientele is not based upon somebody walking through your store. Your foot traffic becomes a minor part of your business. Even if you make pies, you can ship a pie now, as long as you package it correctly, and it'll get there fresh. Those are things that we need to start thinking about. We need to start thinking about how to do business in the 21st century as opposed to just trying to do business in the 20th century. Everything ain't about a barbershop or a store on the corner. Now you can reach people in China. People in China might want a bean pie if you know how to make bean pies. Make a bean pie and ship it, But be that as it may, I thank you for that information. That's just some things that I was thinking about that we might need to, weave into what we're trying to do. Okay? Mm-hmm. Next subject. And, it just so happens that we was talking about Ebola in New York City. I just saw something that came across my timeline. One, there was a shooting at a high school in Seattle, but there's no details on that. Somebody that ran up in a school now, a high school now, and shot 2 people. At least 2 people were airlifted to the hospital. I don't know what the details are. We get back to that. But everyone's favorite heroic nurse, Miss Pham, standing in front of the hospital with, microphones in front of her, giving a news conference, and now she's slated to meet with President Obama.
Of course.
Really? I understand the optics of it. You know what I mean? You want to calm the nation. Here's the world's most, prominent individual, the leader of the quote-unquote leader of the free world. He's not scared of Ebola. He's going to shake hands and be around a person who's just recovered from Ebola. Hope it ain't a plot to kill him, but, it is what it is, But it's just so ironic we were just talking about that, but I think I read yesterday that the sister girl was cleared of having Ebola in her system. You would think, but that's just me. And, I see racism and discrimination and white privilege and everything. You would think that as a brother, you would want to meet with the sister who was the first person not to have Ebola in her system.
Why aren't they both going to meet the president? That's what my question is.
Even that.
Then they both put their lives in danger, but anyway.
Yeah. Maybe because she gave him mouth-to-mouth and the sister only did the chest compressions. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. Anyway, but that's back to that. But we're moving on from there. Let's talk about pumpkin terrorism. Everybody know what pumpkin terrorism is? Patrick, since you came late, you get the first crack at pumpkin terrorism because I know you know what pumpkin terrorism is.
Boy, you silly boy. If you talking about the little pumpkin riot that the kids had, that whole situation to me is just so hilarious. So hilarious, so hilarious. The Great White Pumpkin Riot. Yes, people, yes.
It wasn't a riot, man. It was just rambunctious children engaging in mischief.
No, that was a riot. Rambunctious children engaging in mischief don't turn cars over and wrap their heads up like they, you know what, whatever. I didn't even want to draw no connections between these these kids, quote unquote, and their what's going on in the Middle East. But no, these people are silly. For those that don't know, there was a festival in 2014 in New Hampshire, the Great Pumpkin Festival. And apparently, some of the white teens decided to be patriotic. I'm not real sure what the word is we want to use right there. But they decided to get a little crazy. And basically a riot ensued. And I'm going to say a riot because that's what it was. Got doggone it. Because ain't no riots out there in Ferguson have cars overturned or anything like that. So basically they just went on like this criminal rampage. Just this swath of destruction where they basically just ripped New Hampshire apart. I mean, just everything. You know, it happened in Keene, New Hampshire, but they just destroyed the entire state. I mean, I was just appalled. As I said,
in the street, everything.
It was horrible. I mean, they had live fires. They were actually attacking the police. You know, I read somewhere that at one point they had actually beat the police back so that they could continue their reign of terror. I mean, parents and children were evacuated. It was horrible.
I kept my kids home from school, and I'm in Texas.
See that? You see how that works? I mean, my kids here in North Carolina, they came home and they asked me in their sweet, sweet voices, they said, "Daddy, what is going on in New Hampshire?" And I said, "Don't worry about it, because we're a long way away." But deep down in my soul, I knew.
They were moving this way.
This is funny, but it's a spit in the face to every black congregation that's ever gotten together peacefully to achieve anything. To see that the way they're labeling this event and the way things are playing out, it's a blatant spit in the face to everything that black people have tried to do, not just in the past, but what we're trying to do now. And this is another clear-cut example of that black tax that we talk about. Since some people, and I've recently found out that a lot of black people are uncomfortable when you talk about white supremacy. So I found it more beneficial to say, okay, I won't call it white supremacy since that makes you feel bad about your life and having white friends. So I'll call it a black tax. Is that better? You know, so I found that people are a lot more receptive to saying a black tax than saying white supremacy. So I'm gonna see how that works for me and my vocabulary here in the coming weeks. I'll be using black tax more and more frequently. But it really shows the black tax again in another light. We already know that a kid with a gun, whether he uses it or not, if he's black, he's a menace to society. Meanwhile, a white kid could go and shoot up an entire movie theater or shoot up a school or shoot up his family or shoot up a bunch of stuff. They've the history of shooting up a lot of shit. They get written off as disgruntled geniuses or troubled youth or disturbed, yes, or any of those other things they come up with to try to dismiss the fact that this person just shot a bunch of people. This, again, is another example of that to me. When you have black people in Ferguson, Marshall, they're labeled as thugs and animals, and if you really look at the footage of the riots and the actual people that were doing the damage in Ferguson, I'm not saying all of them was white, but a lot more of them was white than you expect it to be. So you have those images, but then here in New Hampshire, where you have a clear-cut, all-white cast, because I haven't seen any pictures of any black people yet, they're labeled as rowdy or you know, mischievous, which is a little kid word for troublesome, or booze-filled revelers. Let's blame it on the alcohol. They get all these other labels, and people try to make every excuse in the world for why their behavior is okay. So, and we could even go back deeper with this in American history. They teach about the Boston Tea Party as being this momentous occasion in American history. But then they talk about the black uprisings that happened, it's particularly amongst the slaves, as rebellions and riots and murderous loss of lives and this, that, and the third. When in actuality, let's call the Boston Tea Party what it was. White people got mad and they rioted. They they broke a bunch of shit and they threw a bunch of shit out that didn't belong to them. That to me that sounds like looting. But in any case, that's my opinion on this whole New Hampshire thing. It's a sad situation.
And even if you want to get just a tad bit more contemporary with it, look at the disparate treatment that you saw, or the disparate images that you saw coming out of Katrina. You had white people going in the stores, getting stuff, walking out with it, not paying. They would just, the desperate struggle to survive. Black people walk into places, come out, they're looters. Well, he had a case of beer and he had a case of water. Well, they're in the hood. They have more beer than they do water. You got to drink something. It's water in beer, so, it is what it is. TB, what you think?
I'm in agreement. I mean, what else is there to be said? You have a riot that takes place. You got a mass number of people that are causing a civil unrest. They're actually throwing objects at the police. Now, this is the important part in all this. They're actually throwing beer cans at the police. They are tipping over cars and setting fires. Yet not one gunshot, not one round is fired. Yeah, you fired off some tear gas because that's standard protocol at any riot. But the fact is they were purposely doing this in rebellion to the police. Purposely. And the fact that they are throwing beer cans at the police and nobody is shot, and you got a guy like Mike Brown whose hands are up in the air and he gets 6 bullets put in him. I mean, come on. I mean, we know what it is. We know what it is. This is based on the race of the people involved. Every time it's white people that are involved in these kinds of things, it's just they're revelers and they're just over exuberant. But when it's black people, these are thugs and these are convict peoples. It's just even how it's even labeled. That's just they're just letting off some steam. But when it's us, call in the National Guard, these niggas just going crazy. We all know what the deal is, man.
And that's funny too, because that wasn't even, I don't even think that was the only one that happened that week as well. There was a college football game that, a small college beat, a larger college, and it was like, the David versus Goliath type, myth that they want to put out. And, they tore up a bunch of shit, turned over a bunch of cars, destroyed everything in their path, and they were just, again, over-exuberant, drunken revelers who were just celebrating a win against a larger school, But you draw that parallel to Ferguson, they were animals, and, why you got to tear up your own shit? You know what I mean? Why you got to tear up your own neighborhood? And I'm looking at this, and I've seen about 15, 16 different memes on social media, basically comparing the two incidents. And, I just was cracking up. I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. That's why I call it pumpkin terrorism. You know what I mean? Poor pumpkins ain't did nothing to nobody, and these white people just set upon them like they was, the worst thing since the devil or something like that. Okay, let's move on. Next subject. I don't know how many people have seen it. I'm quite sure that everybody has seen it, at least saw snippets of it and just, turned it off real quick and just shook your head because it just like kind of, hurt you in your soul. What is the deal? I just got to say it. What the fuck is up with these young black boys making these videos about homosexual acts. What is up with that? When did that become a thing? Because YouTube is full of them. Literally full of them. And I'm not talking about the queens. I'm not talking about the rap videos. What was the dude's name? Rap Boy J or whatever the hell his name was that made, Boy Coochie or whatever the name of that song was. I ain't talking about that. We know he's gay and we know he's pandering to a gay crowd, So these are not who I'm talking about. The last one that I saw was actually looked like a football team after practice in the locker room, just jumping around, talking about fellatio. And okay, I'm like, okay, when did this get to be a thing? Anybody know when this got to be a thing? TV, I go to you first.
Hell no, I don't know. I don't know about no gay nothing. You got to ask somebody who gay, player.
I mean,
and that's my answer to that.
We all played organized sports. You played
organized
sports.
We wasn't in no locker rooms playing nothing gay. We ain't even like to look at niggas when we was in the shower together. It's like keep your eyes focused on either your feet or the shower head. That was it. That was it, player.
Patrick, after track practice, did you do it? Could you see yourself just, you and the fellas, y'all just, y'all hopping around talking about, this, that, this, and the third, as you say. Could you see it? Did I lose Patrick? Patrick ain't even got nothing to say about that. Patrick like, man, I'm out of that. I ain't got nothing to say.
Here's the deal, right? And in every locker room I've ever been in, from football to not football, because we had some, but anyway, from track to the basic training, we always had the elevator up rule. Which basically means your neck is controlling your head, which is on the elevator, and the elevator is not allowed to go down. The elevator can go up, and it can go up again, which means you can look up, or you could look up higher. That's pretty much it. If the elevator ever goes down, we got issues, and that's you got issues with everybody. But what we used to do growing up, or what I used to see guys doing, is we used to pick on gay people, and so they would have the freestyle battles then, but it was never nothing like what you seeing nowadays. Like it would be like, you would be rapping, or you would be freestyling or whatever, which is what a lot of these guys are doing, freestyling about being gay. You would be rapping or freestyling, and you would be like, that's why you gay and you rap like this. And then you would go into your rap. But it still wouldn't be nothing as like visual as what they're doing nowadays. And never in our wildest dreams would we ever put it on YouTube or put it up on the internet to be viewed by other people. I mean, that's something you do in the confines of your own circle. And even after that, after every line, somewhere in the next line, you said no homo. Wait a second. Let me make this clear. I'm not gay. I'm doing this picking on him because he's gay. And he's not gay either. I'm just calling him gay because I'm picking on him. Like, that's what it was. So, like I said, for us growing up, that's what it was for us. Now, all the gay people, I can hear them now getting mad. I can't believe you guys did that. Well, it was a long time ago. Tough shit.
And in our generation, it wasn't even that. It was you didn't say anything about being a gay or lesbian. We knew the few people who were lesbian. We knew the few people who were gay, but nobody sat there and made a point of focusing on them. We didn't point them out every day. We simply knew who they were, and they didn't celebrate it. They didn't run around letting you know they were that way. You could just kind of see it and hear it in the mannerisms. So, it's just a difference in the generation where this generation today celebrates this kind of behavior. It's like they want you to know that they like the same gender and they're celebrating it. Whereas in our generation, it was not celebrated. That was just something you just kept that to yourself.
Right. Well, and to clear it up though, we didn't actually, or I never heard anybody anyways, and I keep saying we, but I did listen, but I never really participated, but I did listen. But those raps were never, or freestyles were never really made for anybody that was gay. It was just kind of like a We in our own little intimate circle. We all know each other. Ain't nobody gay in the circle, and we just clowning. It was like another form of jonesing. But it was nothing like, you see these videos nowadays, these brothers are talking about, I want penis in my butt, and I want to suck this, and I want, like, it was nothing like that. Like, that's...
Right, like I said, but look at it. That's what I'm saying. It's a difference in the mentality of being homosexual or being lesbian today as opposed to back then. You know, back there was a time where that behavior was just simply considered something you're not going to talk about, that you're not going to put that on display. You know, whereas now it's the reverse, and it's just as if, you know, they say the world's coming to an end, so everything that is evil is going to come out, you know, tenfold. So people are now celebrating this kind of behavior, whereas before it simply was not done. I can think of 3 people right now, just off the top of my head, that were that kind of way. You know, there was a young lady, I remember her first name was Tonda. There was a guy named Ernest, and there was this guy who was a boxer. His brother was that way. But nobody went to their house and made fun of them. Nobody tried to have discussions about them. We didn't spend our time growing up talking about their gayness. You know, we just didn't. We were busy focused on being young folks growing up, talking about other things. We were talking about sitcoms on television and growing up and playing ball and getting in the paper for scoring touchdowns or game-winning field goals and things. So, you know, this is just the type of society that we live in, where everything that is ridiculous, everything that is stupid, everything that is as extreme as it can be is celebrated. You know, you see it on Facebook with these fight pages where the whole page is nothing but people that fight, and they're celebrating this kind of behavior. So it shouldn't be a surprise that people who are gay or lesbian are now going to extremes and wanting you to know just how gay and lesbian they really are.
But, you know, the thing about it that struck me as kind of odd about it is, like I said, these are not your classic images of what you would think of as gay. You know, this is not the people, if you looked at this group of people, you would say, okay, that's the football team, or that's the basketball team, baseball team. Those young brothers right there is thugs. You see what I'm saying? That's a gang right there, standing on that corner, rapping about putting a blooper in your mouth. Come on, man, for real? I remember back in the day, like Terry said, back in the day, when we would get around, and like Patrick said too, we'd get around in a circle and we do what we call jive on each other. That's what they called it in the Midwest. And East Coast, I think they call it Jones, and they called it playing the dozens on the West Coast, or whatever it might be. But that's what we would do, stand around and jive on each other. But I can't ever remember anybody jiving on somebody else and calling them gay. You know what I mean? This was back in the time, a lot of youngsters don't really know it, but this was back in the time in the 1960s and 1970s where men didn't even admit to pleasuring a woman with his mouth. That was, I mean, if you was jiving on somebody and you said that, a fight might ensue. You see what I'm saying? And it's a female.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Let alone another dude. That's just something that we didn't do. And I'm just wondering, you know, where this mentality came from. When did this get to be a thing? Is this something that people, was there a meeting that I missed or some shit like that I didn't get a chance to object and say, no, that might not be a good look, player. You try to get in to Notre Dame as they number one running back, bro. They gonna look at this video on YouTube and they liable to not accept you. I'm just saying. You know?
Yeah, it's just the crumbling of our morals, man, as human peoples, period. I mean, this transcends race. You know, this transcends anything that has to do with the color of your skin, because there are gay people and lesbian people of all races that are now just clearly, they're letting you know, this is what I do, and I'm going to do this in public, and you're going to have to accept this. And so that's what it's become. And as I said, it didn't happen at one time. Now it's happening, and people are, as I said, celebrating this kind of behavior. Now, I don't see, at least I know from those of us that are on this mic right now and in this show, I don't think we've ever participated in, you know, a heterosexual march, or we didn't storm the Capitol and demand, that people accept us as being heterosexual. We didn't purposely just go out in public and identify ourselves. Hey, I'm heterosexual and I'm proud of it, and watch me kiss my woman. So this behavior is it's like they're trying to they just simply, it's like they want you to know that I like this, and you're going to be forced to accept that I like this. Whereas for us, it was just like, look at me. I like to do these kind of immoral acts, and you just have to live with it. And for us, it just was like, we just thought it was the norm to just keep that kind of business to yourself. It's like nobody cares. Like, whoever I go with, whatever woman I'm with, whatever that woman and I are doing in our private lives, that ain't your damn business. It's not your business. And this is where I wish, of course, you wish it would stay there. Like, that's your business, but you don't need to try to show that to me. And then we're looking at the fact that children are being affected by this. They're seeing this and they're hearing this, and now they're becoming confused as to what their roles really are supposed to be in society. So it's just the crumbling away of the whole moral fabric of human beings that I think is driving this.
Good points all. Well, with that, like I said, I kind of halfway moved everything around because I think my third actual topic, I said I would wait and deal with some of the more flippant things first, and then I would deal with the serious thing on the way out, because I think we got about 20 more minutes, and we out of here. But banning the box, and for those who don't know, banning the box means removing from job applications that self-declaration that I have a felony. And my question is whether or not that's some type of breakthrough, like a lot of people are saying, or whether or not it's one of them situations where it's just, who cares? You see what I'm saying? In my opinion, I don't think it means as much as people say it means, because I think that we need to get away from just minute steps to tackle a problem. A lot of people hailed this as, just a minor step toward, returning some type of equality to the job market, where these thousands upon thousands of individuals who have felony backgrounds are able to rejoin society and have a shot at being, everything that they can be and realizing their potential. I get it. But I think that if you're not getting ready to go for the whole enchilada, then you might as well stay at home. And I liken it to President Obama deciding to go with Obamacare as opposed to universal health care, which is something that's being done in 2 states with no problems. They're not broke. You know what I mean? Yeah, they smaller states, but if it can work there, it can work anywhere as far as universal health care is concerned. So getting back to banning the box, I think that it's one of those things that it shines a light on a problem, but shining a light on the problem does not make the problem go away. The problem is still there. You can just see it now. So I guess I kind of wanted to get you guys' thoughts about that. Breakthrough or TB, I hit you first.
All right. I don't really see it as like a breakthrough, because I see it this way. I think if you're applying for a job, the employer has a right to know the decisions that you made in your life, whether they've been good ones or bad ones. If you're applying for a job that's where you're going to work with children, I mean, I would like to know if you have some type of history that shows you've assaulted or molested children. I mean, so putting that on the application, I think that gives me the right as the employer to at least know, okay, you had this in your history. Let's talk about it. I mean, I think the rest of the stuff on your application is outstanding, but let's see what happened at this point in your life where this mistake was made, and then let's look at the circumstances. But to leave it off the application, I don't know if it should be left off completely, because again, I would want to know if there's something that I need to know. Like if you used to run around carrying guns and robbing people on the regular, and now I'm in a place where, there are vulnerable people with money, that can be taken advantage of, and you've been taking advantage of these people for the past 12 years. I would like to know that before I actually hire you. So, I filled out applications before. I see where it says if you have a criminal background, check yes, or this may not necessarily bar you from employment. So it could go either way. I mean, if you've just been a terrible person and you just your first name is felony, then you shouldn't get a job anyway because you just been a fool. But if you made one mistake, you were young and riding around, you stole a car and rode around and then got caught. Okay, so they give you a little class D felony type thing. Okay, put that on the application. Let them know what happened, what was going on in your life, and you move forward. So I just don't see it as being that helpful thing or hindrance, because if you don't put it on, they're still going to do the background check. You see, so you may have gotten away with the fact that they're actually reviewing your application because you didn't put any information in there about felony, but they're still going to run that Social Security number, and they're still going to check you out with the state police and police all throughout the country to see if you've done something wrong. So I don't see it as necessarily being, a breakthrough.
And I agree wholeheartedly with that. I think it's totally meaningless. Because like you said, they ask you for your Social Security number for a reason. Not because they want to make sure that you get paid if you get the job. They want to run that background check. And the NCIC, the National Criminal Information Database, or NCID, whatever it is, that goes back to the time that, mommy popped you out in the hospital. They can find out anything and everything that they really want to know about you just by having your Social Security number. But there is the converse, and a lot of people think that when you check that box as yes, they don't even want to know what your felony was. They don't even want to read that little box that they usually put up under there. Could you explain? Could you tell us where it was and what happened? They don't even want to read that. Once you pick yes, your application is going in the trash. And they think that this will go a long way toward getting people in front of hiring managers or HR managers and giving them the opportunity to show themselves and to show their character now as opposed to what it used to be. It sounds good. But just like I can fill out an application, and that's another thing I tell people all the time when I talk to kids. When they ask you for that voluntary information at the end for EEOC purposes or whatever, are you black, are you white, are you Pacific Islander or whatever, don't check that shit. Leave that blank, especially if your name is John Smith. If your name is John Smith, you could be white, black, you could be Hispanic, you could be an Asian with a name like John Smith. Get in front of them and let them find out that you're black. Same thing with checking the box. What ends up happening is that if they looking at your name, and your name is Kenneth, you could be white, you could be black, but if your name is Kenneth and you check that box as being a felon, 9 times out of 10 you're black. So you're going in the trash. If your name is Shaniqua, you're going in the trash because we know that you're black. That discrimination is not going to go away if you ban that one sentence. And I'm in total agreement with you as well. If I run a daycare center, I want to know what you have done in your life. But guess what? I don't need you to check that box to be able to find that out. And to find out you got 5 open CPS cases against you trying to work in my daycare. I don't need that because I'm going to run a background check on you anyway. Now, we need to get toward what are we going to do about those individual businesses they're just not going to hire you because you're black, regardless of whether or not you have a felony conviction or not, because as studies have shown, it's easier for a white man with a felony to get a job in America than a brother that graduated from college that's never done anything wrong in his life. He's never even squeezed a Charmin, Patrick. breakthrough, or
I mean, I'm actually in total agreement with you guys. And for the exact same reasons that were mentioned. First off, as being somebody that has been in the position of a hiring manager, I don't need you to tell me if you've gotten a felony or not. For a lot of companies, it's legally required that you do a background check, and I'm speaking on first-hand knowledge here. If you have a black-sounding name, or if you went to a high school that's predominantly black, or if you live in a predominantly black zip code, or whatever the case may be, I'm going to run a background check. Like, that's the culture. That's not saying what I'm going to do. That's the culture of the business. A background check will be run. And in that sense, they could start asking for your social ID or your social security number before you even get in for an interview. You know, they could start putting that right on the job application. So it doesn't really do much. Now, if they're thinking, well, we know that these things disproportionately affect black people, but if black people could just get in front of the hiring manager and they would are allowed to explain their case, then they'll have a better chance of getting a job. I would say those people don't really have a very good understanding of what racism is.
That's right.
Because sitting a black person in front of a white person, felony or not, is I mean, what do you really think is going to happen? Like, they will throw your application out because you're black and use the fact that you have a felony as an excuse. So, in a lot of senses, it's not even that you have a felony; it's that you're black, and they don't want to be made uncomfortable by having black people in the workplace. And I also agree with the statement that in a lot of cases, it's the employer's right to know, and it's beneficial to their business to know. We have to understand that what employment is. It's not anybody's right to be employed. You don't have the right to have a job. When you basically get a job, you're entering into contract with a corporation or a company or whoever that you will perform these services and they will pay you this money. It's a contract. And just like any contract, they're allowed to have whatever stipulations on that contract that they want to have on that contract. And if you don't like those stipulations, you cannot take the job. That's the simple gist of it. We've gotten this whole employment situation has just gotten so convoluted and so filled with a bunch of mess. Then now we have people out here thinking that they have a legal right to have a job. No, you don't. You do not have that right. And the company has every right. This is one of the few times you'll hear me actually stand up for corporations. But, I mean, a corporation has every right to examine completely who they're going into business with. Just like before you go and spend your dollars at Walmart, which is another form of contract, you have every right to check Walmart out and see who they are as a company and decide whether or not you want to give them your dollars or not. So I disagree with all of the approaches that they're taking to solving this problem. And a lot of these groups that are pushing these things are, on black people's behalf anyway, are quote-unquote minority groups. And it's empty. It's hollow. If we want to improve the employment situation, we need to establish our own institutions that can employ people. It's just that simple. We can't go into Walmart and say, you can't ask us about our history. What the hell kind of foolishness is that? All right, fine then. I won't hire none of these.
Yep, and that's for sure. And it's like you said, if as long as I put my employment life in the hands of other people, how can I not expect them to not respect that or to not use that to their advantage? Because like you said, if I have a business and I want to hire somebody, I have a right to know whether or not that individual who I'm hiring, if I'm a bank or if I'm a financial institution, whether or not that individual has, a history of check kiting or has a history of, theft from his employer. I have a right to know that. Now, detractors will turn around and say, well, does time have a factor in this? If I did something 30 years ago, went to jail for it, went to prison for it, whatever, did my time, came out, and have been a respectable member of society since then, should I be given that second chance? And I know that most normal-minded people will say, absolutely, they should be given a second chance. But that's not the way it works. The way it works is that I see you have a felony, and I see this individual right here that does not have a felony. I am going to hire the person without a felony because it's less of a risk to my livelihood. That's what people don't see about it, you know. And like you said, I think it's like this. If you own a business, and say your business, you're a major warehouse owner, and all you do is drive forklifts and load trucks, I could care less what you did when you was 20 years old. Yeah, you can have a job because you're not putting anybody else at risk unless you come to work and, cut somebody's head off like that one dude did at FedEx. But that's a whole other story. There's less of a risk to it damaging your reputation as a reputable business. On the other hand, if I'm a hospital hiring manager, I need to know, and I am probably well within my rights not to hire you as a doctor when in the state of Nevada your license was stripped from you and you were convicted of killing your patients. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference in levels. What it does, what that felony record does is it keeps you locked at a certain level socioeconomically. It keeps you in those low-paying, high-labor-type jobs. And I think that's what the detractors are getting at when they, come up with these fruity ideas about banning the box or whatever you want to call it. It's ridiculous and is 100% totally unnecessary. Terry, final thought.
Had to turn my fan off. I'm hot.
Always hot.
Yeah, warm-blooded, man. Again, just to close it out, we're all in agreement with this. I think this comes down to the choice of the employer to decide whether or not they want to put that information on their application. Do they want to know before they even sit down and talk with you, have you done something in your past that they need to be concerned with? And they have a right to know that. So whether they put it on the application or whether they pull your application and then run the background check, they still have a right to know. And I just think that if you have done something wrong in your life and you have gotten over it and you have moved forward, you just have to, know that some people are not going to want to hire you and some are. We know that. There are people who've done things wrong, who admitted that they've done things wrong on their applications. They sat down and they spoke with the employer and they still got hired. It just becomes then, who are you? Have you moved forward from what it was that you've done? And what you did, was it so serious and so much of an offense that they just simply aren't going to take that chance with you. And if you break it down into white versus black, yeah, everything that you guys said is true. This comes down to race, and we know that. So that again becomes that same old thing where we just beat the dead horse to death. If you're black and you have a felony, you're less likely to be hired than if you're white and have a felony, blah blah and blah blah and blah blah. But if we start with the behavior in and of itself, don't get a damn felony to start with, then at least that lessens the chance that you would be turned down because of the felony. But you'll never be able to do anything about being black and not being hired. You just have to hope that what you bring to the table, and when you sit down with the interview, that the employer would find you worthy. I mean, every job I've ever applied to that I really wanted to go after these jobs, I've been successful in getting those jobs. And when they sit down with me, they looked at the application, they liked what they saw, they brought me in and they talked with me, and I got the position, and I'm black. Same thing when I got in radio, working with a room full of, white folks that were reporters and anchors. Here I am, this black producer, but I'm in there with them. And it wasn't because, of anything other than when I sat down in front of them and told them what I bring to the table, what I think I have to offer. I think they made the decision, hey, this, we like this guy. So you just, some things you just have to take your chances. If you did something wrong, say so. Let the chips fall where they may.
Right. And to end that, and to piggyback on that ending note, I'm a prime example of that. You know what I mean? I have a felony. But just through the strength of my personality and how I go about applying for jobs, I make friends with people before I ever turn in an application. So they already know what they're getting when I sit down in front of them. And then if they ask me about my felony, I tell them straight up, say, hey, look, this is what happened. This is what went down. But guess what? It was 30 years ago. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You, young boy, wasn't even born when my felony happened. So what has that got to do with now? So with that, that's another one of those things I've scribbled down on the side. This is another one of those things that we'll come back. How do we get around discrimination in employment? Because like Patrick says, you do not have a right to a job. However, you do have a right not to be discriminated against in the hiring process. But the problem is, even with the federal laws that exist that come out of the EEOC, there's no way to prove it.
Right.
Because there's no way to get into the mind of that individual on the other side of that desk that's looking at you. I'm not going to hire you because you're a Negro. I'm not going to hire you.
And the ways are so subtle that you don't even know that you've been denied. You see, there's just so many ways they can move you out of the process. Yeah, you just don't know the reason why.
Or you get that stock, email that says that we found somebody more qualified for the job and we hired them. That's their reasoning. You can't get around that. Even though, man, you see that Negro that came in here and applied, he actually thought he was going to work here. Ha, ha, ha. But we can't prove that conversation went on. You see what I'm saying? So, be that as it may, like I said, we'll come back to that and we'll talk about employment discrimination as a whole on another show. I want to thank everybody that joined in to the show today. My usual partners in consciousness, Patrick, TB, Gabrielle, when you was able to contribute, I appreciate that. I appreciate all of my listeners, the thousands and thousands of listeners that I have across this great world that we have. Again, join us next week every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 o'clock to whenever we run out of things to talk about. 1 o'clock Central Time, which is 2 o'clock on the East Coast, and 9 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. I forget. I don't know. But join us where you'll get the best in the brown sound. You'll get, viewpoints from the black point of view. I encourage everybody to tune in tonight at 10 o'clock. Is that 10 o'clock Central or 10 o'clock Eastern, TV?
10 o'clock Central.
10 o'clock Central for UI After Dark with TBZ for Sheezy. So I encourage everybody to go to UI Radio, go to the urbanintellectuals.com page and look at the radio shows that we have in archive as well as the ones that's coming up, because we're trying to do big things. And as usual, the revolution won't be televised, but it must be funded. So as always, I end on, if you want to be a card-carrying member of urbanintellectuals.com, or Urban Intellectuals, you can go to urbanintellectuals.com/members, and for the low, low price of $24, you can become a card-carrying member of Urban Intellectuals. Or if you just want to donate to the cause, you can go to urbanintellectuals.com/donate and give to your heart's content. And with that, I got to play this again. I love this intro. I'm working on some intros, y'all. I got some stuff. Y'all just ain't hip to that old school X-Clan.
I know that's right.
Welcome to the UI experience. Welcome to the UI experience.